There has been controversy that Galileo was actually an atheist and therefore did not believe that God existed. Can you address this question? This is Caitlin in Oregon. So is that why he acted that way? What's the take there?
Yeah. Caitlin, I don't think Galileo was an atheist. To be honest with you, I think, Galileo seemed to have, a very credible religious belief. And as I mentioned, he may have had his disagreements with how the Bible was to be interpreted. But no, I don't think he was an atheist. And in fact, he still carried on, very fine relationships with people in the church even after his quote-unquote exile. And that exile was a very comfortable exile. Even Alfred North Whitehead, right, a long time ago said, well, as exiles go, this one was a comfortable one in a good Italian villa. And he said it was really a kind of a gentle reproof and a slap on the wrist. And so, essentially what we were dealing with at that juncture was, more a kind of a respectful, exile on the part of the Pope, and also, right, I think in Galileo's part, not really an atheism, but probably, he had differences from the way the Bible was to be interpreted, and the Church certainly laid those foundations for biblical interpretation later in Divino Afflante Spiritu.
Right, whether there had been an overly literalistic approach to it, or in which ways you could understand what things were to be taken specifically, or how the people of their time would have understood what was being said and what was meant, right?
Right, exactly. So, back in 1942, right, Pope Pius XII went ahead and laid down those rules in that encyclical Divino Afflante Spiritu. And he basically says, look, there's two views of inspiration, right? You have the dictation view of inspiration. That's where, God would come to the biblical author and go, okay, Spitzer, take down exactly what I say. And there would be no participation in the construction of the text by the biblical author himself. Now, of course, we do not hold that as Catholics. There are some schools of Christian thought that do, but as Catholics, we do not. We hold a co-participative view of a biblical inspiration. That means that the biblical author actually has a part to play in the construction of the text. So he's going to be using categories that come from his culture. He's going to be using, categories that come from his own academic preparation, right? Of course, the biblical author is not going to use scientific concepts, scientific methodology, and complex mathematical conceptualizations. They didn't know anything about that in 500 BC, right? For all intents and purposes, then, what you're dealing with is what I would call a view for Pope Pius XII, a view of inspiration that really says, you have to state this and put this within its context, which is what? The Bible is meant to give sacred truths necessary for salvation. The Bible was not meant to give accurate descriptions of the physical universe according to scientific explanation.
Right, even though we know today that all of the, when it comes to the things of finding in the ancient world, there's more proof of things in the Bible than virtually anything else, and everything we find in the Holy Land there kind of reinforces what was there in Scripture.